Thankfully nowadays, the sideshow freaks have mostly vanished from the American landscape. Looking back in history, we can now take a look at the circus sideshow performers and learn more about their deformities and life in the circus. These are 10 most amazing circus sideshow freaks. Number 10. Dick Kilburn. Born in 1918, Dick Kilburn was born with only one left arm and possessed no right arm or legs. Only a vestigial two-toed foot protruded from his left hip. Dick Kilburn conquered his mobility limitations with little more than a rolling board. He would often exhibit himself to the public on his own terms, which helped him financially. Having to deal with his physical disabilities, besides performing, he also developed his mind capabilities. He proved to become a talented artist and would create tattoo art as well as becoming a professional painter of commercial signs, banners and semi-trailers. Successful in life, art and business, Kilburn was also successful in love. He later married a normal woman who had all her fingers and toes. Dick Kilburn ran his sideshow until the day he died in June of 1971. Number 9. Grady Stiles Jr. Known as the Lobster Boy, this is by far the most disturbing and darkest sideshow performer. Stiles was born in 1937 to a circus family that has suffered from condition electrodactyly, a rare congenital deformity of the hand where the middle digit is missing and the hand is cleft where the metacarpal of the finger should be. This split often gives the hands the appearance of lobster claws, although cases vary in severity. Stiles' father added him to the family stage show at an early age, although his condition was severe and he was unable to walk. He learned to use his arms for moving around, giving him an incredible upper body strength. However, Grady Stiles Jr. had a very dark side. Stiles Jr. eventually married and he would become highly abusive towards his family when he was drunk, often beating his wife and children. When his eldest daughter fell in love and became engaged, Stiles picked up a shotgun and killed her fiancé in cold blood. However, because of his disability, Stiles used to get out of going to prison. He resumed beating his family and taunted, "I killed before and got away with it, I can do it again." Eventually, the family had had enough. On November the 29th, 1993, Grady was gunned down by a hired hitman. Number 8. Pip and Flip Show. The Snow Sisters were born with microcephaly, a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by an abnormally small cranium and brain. Biologically, with this condition, during formation of the fetus, the head fails to grow in time with the face, which continues to develop at a normal rate. This produces a person with a small head and a receding forehead. Due to this, people with this disorder possess toddler-like mentalities and would charm crowds with their childlike innocence. Also known as the Pinhead Sisters, the Snow Sisters were earning $75 a week during the Great Depression. Sadly, Jenny Lee Snow passed away in her early 20s in 1934, while her sister Elvira died in 1976. Number 7. Millie and Christine McCoy. Millie and Christine McCoy were conjoined twins during the 19th and early 20th century, who were literally joined at the hip and shared a number of vital organs. They were born into slavery in 1852 after they and all of their family were sold to a man named James P. Smith for $6,000. After the twins received an education which included learning song, dance and the piano, they started performing and touring as the Two-Headed Nightingale and travelled around America performing for 30 years. Despite having earned a small fortune along the way, the two were left homeless and in poverty after a fire destroyed most of their possessions. They died of tuberculosis at the age of 61. Number 6. Edward Beaupre. Edward was born in 1880 and was the eldest of 20 children. He was also the only sibling to display abnormal abilities. By the age of 17, Edward grew to an astounding 7 feet tall. His height would show no signs of stopping, which would cause him excruciating pain. It is said that he was a kind, gentle person who had an interest in cowboys. In order to earn a living, Edward toured Canada and the United States. While most giants are frail and weak, Edward possessed incredible strength, which was shown by lifting a horse onto his shoulders. During a show in 1904, Edward collapsed and died at the age of 23 years due to a massive pulmonary hemorrhage. At the time of his death, he was 8 feet and 3 inches tall. An autopsy was performed and a pituitary gland tumour was the likely cause of Edward's enormous stature. Number 5. Francesco Lentini. Francesco Lentini was technically one pair of conjoined twins. However, Francesco's brother only consisted of an extra leg and a set of genitals. Francesco had 12 normal siblings, so it was a shock for his parents to see his birth defect. After his birth, doctors examined him and came to the conclusion that surgery was too risky to perform. Francesco was often teased about his disability. However, after visiting a children's institute, he witnessed children with far worse disabilities and decided he would try to be a happier person. Francesco toured with various circuses for 40 years, and after being so well respected in his performances, he was referred to as the King. During his later years, he became more of a stand-up comic, claiming that he always bought 2 pairs of shoes, giving the leftover one to a one-legged friend. Number 4. Oliver the Humanzee. During the freak shows in the 1970s, Oliver was said to be a hybrid of man and chimpanzee nicknamed Humanzee. This claim was substantiated by a bold medical statement that Oliver possessed 47 chromosomes, one more than a man and one less than a chimpanzee. Oliver's appearance is what set him apart from the other chimpanzees, in that he had human-like facial features, extremely human-like measurements, and walked upright, which he had not been trained to do. Oliver was first brought to the US from the Congo by Frank and Janet Berger, famous animal trainers who claimed he was often shunned by the other chimps. Oliver preferred to be in the company of humans and would often feed the animals and even use tools like a wheelbarrow. His intelligence and ability to learn was astounding. In 1996, Oliver was rescued and lived the remainder of his days in a chimpanzee retirement village. Number 3. Vasila Luther. Vasila was born in 1911 in Puerto Rico. She was afflicted with hypertrichosis, also known as werewolf syndrome, which gave her abnormal amounts of hair and 2 sets of teeth. After the death of Vasila's father, she was adopted by a violent and angry American man who dubbed her the Monkey Girl. One day, she went on a circus tour where she met a man named Emmett Bijano, who suffered from a disorder called ichthyosis, which made his skin extremely tough and scaly. The two hit it off and eventually eloped and toured together for years as the world's strangest married couple. Eventually they retired from performing and Vasila started to shave every 3 days. For nearly 60 years after Vasila and Emmett first got married, they remained partners until Emmett's death in 1995. Number 2. James Morris. In New York during the 1800s, James Morris was born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which allows the skin to stretch at unbelievable lengths. He toured as the Indian Rubber Man or the Elastic Skin Wonder and was an extremely popular performer. He would stretch skin on his neck and pull it over his eyes. When he wasn't performing, he would still entertain his friends for years, even when he was in the military. Carving out a career for himself, he was earned as much as $300 a week, which was quite a lot of money back then. Eventually, he had to get a second job as a barber to fund his various addictions and activities. His skin condition became extremely painful and would often get welts and scars in the areas he stretched. Number 1. Aloysha Vogner. Nicknamed Violetta, Aloysha Vogner was born in the early 1900s with a condition called tetraamelia syndrome, that is, with no arms or legs. This didn't stop Violetta from being nimble, and she would often comb her own hair or sew with a thread and needle, which she would thread unaided with her mouth. Touring as the beautiful armless and legless Venus, she would allow the audience members to touch her while a nurse carried her around. Sometimes young men would attempt to kiss her, and Violetta would jab them in the chin, using her shoulder, which was hard enough to draw tears. After examination, doctors revealed she had a perfect torso without any blemishes.